course, I'm going to start with Ali Al-Ahmed. He has the distinction of being the youngest political prisoner of Saudi Arabia. When he was 14, he was arrested and he was in prison. He's, I don't know if he would call himself an exile, but he's been in the United States for decades, and he's really the go-to person when the networks want to know something about Saudi Arabia, whether it's the New York Times or CNN or PBS. There was a documentary film recently on Frontline, I think, and they were talking about what's being taught about other religions in Saudi schools, and they went to him for information. He has a group, an institution called the Institute for Gulf Affairs, a lot of good information, and an incredibly brave person to go up against this Saudi tyranny. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Ali Al-Ahmed.
Thank you, everyone. It's my pleasure to be at the Left Forum. This is my first year. I did speak last time. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
No, last year.
Last year through via Skype because I was not feeling well. But it's a pleasure to come to New York always and to speak to really what I call the closest thing to the true consciousness of America. In the history of humanity, we have the right and we have the left, and the left movement in America really has been the closest to the right position on many issues, against wars, against hegemony, and against maybe some American exploitment of other nations, and support for even terrorism and despotic regimes, especially in the Gulf countries. The largest concentration of absolute monarchies in the world are the Saudi and other Gulf monarchies. And it is really disturbing to me that the United States of America, which is supposedly, at least we are told, that is a government by the people, of the people, for the people, a country that was born on the ruins of an absolute monarchy, the British monarchy. The American Revolution ended the absolute monarchy of the British Empire, not only in America, but after the American Revolution. That was the start of the end of an absolute monarchy. What they have now is not an absolute monarchy in the UK. The humanity, the European Renaissance, started with what? With overthrowing the absolute monarchy, the French absolute monarchy. That wave of throwing or overthrowing absolute monarchies was a trend in the Middle East. Started with Egypt in 53, then Iraq in 58, Libya in 69, and Yemen in 63 before it, and then the Iranian Shah in 79, and that stopped. It stopped or slowed down because of the Western support of these monarchies, especially the American support. It is really sad that we see that the American policy, foreign policy in the Middle East, is right-wing policy. When I say right-wing, I don't talk about basically every right-wing person or group in the United States, but in theory, it is defending the absolute monarchs in the Middle East, the Jordanians and the Gulfies. That is disturbing. Why? Because this country was founded on the opposite of that. And you can blame the left movement. You had successful run with the Vietnam War, but there is a war now, Saudi-led war. It's really, some people say it's an American war, but the Saudis are doing the dirty work. The Americans are doing the satellite, the drones, the logistics. The American officers are in the command and control, guiding these planes to bomb Yemeni civilians. More than 10,000 Yemeni civilians have died in 1 year of war. And now there are American troops on the ground in Yemen assisting that war. So this is like a Vietnam, but You know, like Obama likes to say, leading from behind. This is where America is leading from behind. The Saudis and their Gulf allies are in the front with the Jordanians and the Moroccans, all the monarchies. In the front, the Americans are hiding in the back because they're afraid of you, because they don't want you to know that they are involved. And I think this is an opportunity for the left, especially at this election year, is to rally the American people to this issue, to the support of the American administrations, Republicans or Democrats. Sometimes the Democratic administrations are way worse. My experience being in Washington since 2001, the Democrats have been worse in supporting the Gulf monarchies than the Republicans. And I cannot explain it why, but this is the reality. I'm not a Republican. I'm not even an American citizen. So this is really an opportunity this year especially to guide the American people toward a policy. The families of the September 11 hijackers have been successful in getting that bill allowing the American victims of September 11 to sue the Saudi government over the attacks. And they are involved directly and indirectly. That's another issue. But this is an opportunity for people in the left movement to bring this country to do two things: to end the American support for despotic regimes who have not only oppressed their people, prevented women from driving cars, from being a human being, because in Saudi Arabia, a woman is, every single woman, no matter how old, how educated she is, she remains a property of a male guardian. That could be her father, her grandfather, or her son. Even in some cases, we see grandchildren are owning the decision of the life of their grandmother. Complete decisions. I'll tell you about many friends of mine that I've never met. Girls, women, educated, beautiful, who are trapped in the homes in Saudi Arabia because the law of the government, of the monarchy of Saudi Arabia, allows the male guardian to keep these women inside. Two of these women I know, my friends, are the daughters of late King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, who died a year and a half ago. 4 daughters since 2001 behind closed doors, not allowed to go outside for 14 years now. The Americans knew about it. We told them. The White House knew about it. I wrote a letter to Obama about it. I got everybody in Congress to know about it, yet not mention, not a pressure on this issue. And this is very sad because there are not only these 4 daughters of the former king or the late king, but there are hundreds of thousands of women who are under house arrest in that country because they are women, and that's the Saudi law. Yet, is this apartheid? This is apartheid. It's worse than the South African apartheid, really. Yet, the U.S. government, who was democratically elected, is supporting these people, even against their own citizens. You saw what the Obama administration said vis-a-vis the Senate unanimously passing a legislation. If we accept, many of us do, that the Senate represent, the people of this country. So 99 senators voted in favor of the American victims of September 11, giving them a chance to sue the Saudi government. The White House came against it. Why? People say, oh, why? Because, they're going to couch it in policy. But it's not. Of course they have to couch it in policy. But the real issue is payment. People, when the Saudi government gives the Clinton Foundation, the Carter Foundation, and other U.S. officials, directly and indirectly, tens of millions of dollars, they don't give it for charity. Americans taught me this idiom: there is no free lunch. I give you money, you give me something in exchange. And this is what the Hillary Clintons, the Bushes, and the others, and the Obama now is doing. And that's why your role is really important. You have made this country stop a war on the Vietnamese people. And everybody knows how stupid that war was. 2 million Vietnamese died, and 50-some thousand Americans died for what? For nothing. It didn't achieve anything. It was not for a good cause. And here is a war in Yemen, and also the war on terrorism. People talk about ISIS. If the Saudi government collapses, there will be no more ISIS, no more Al-Qaeda. These are the proxies of the absolute regimes who thrive on instability, who thrive on terrorism. Because if there is terrorism, everybody is going to say, oh, at least they're not ISIS. They are ISIS, but they are using that behind the scenes proxy way for them to stay in power. I have always said that terrorism benefits the Saudi monarchy and every despotic regime in the region. We saw this in Egypt, where the bombing of the churches during the Mubarak regime, found out it was the regime who was doing the bombing and blaming it on terrorists. This is how they play the game. These are despotic, ugly, immoral regimes. If you have the elected leaders in Western countries with such a low morality, because power corrupts a human being. Imagine those monarchies who were born into it, and they are raised to rule and take and usurp the decisions and freedoms and the wealth and the resources of millions of people. So really this year is an important year for the left movement in this country and for their supporters or those who think like them to stop the foreign influence over the elections. Because we have seen this before. The Saudis have given money to directly and indirectly, legally usually, sometimes illegally, to presidential candidates. And there was a meeting back in September between King Salman and see how they played. It was in DC in the Four Seasons Hotel. Bill Clinton and George Bush in the same hour. George Bush, the president, former presidents. They came to King Salman, they left, everybody had an arrangement for a big few $1 million worth. Jeb Bush got a few $1 million from the king, and Hillary got a few $1 million from the king as well, so for her campaign. So this is, imagine, this is your future, the future of your children and your grandchildren, when you see an absolute monarch who killed his own son because he was black or abuses women. He has influence on the leaders who's going to rule you and decide for you the policy that you are going to live in. This is a very dangerous condition. That's why it's really important to stop. Everyone who takes money, every politician, American politician who takes money from a foreign government, especially from despotic government, should go to jail, no matter how high that official is. That is why, to protect the American people, I have always said that this country is so far the most successful human experience, and we need to protect it. It's not perfect by far, but it is so far the most successful. So that's why really every American has an opportunity to stop this experience from becoming worse. It should be moving to the better, for equality for everyone in this country. Maybe your responsibility is not to the outside people, but to you, to this nation, to the American citizens here. The Americans have a responsibility to protect their own and their rights and freedoms. I just wanted to do the right thing, to do the right thing by the people. The principle is the people. It's not the elites, be they monarchs or American monarchs like the Clintons and the Bushes and the other elitist billionaires. I think this is an opportunity to stop this country from becoming an oligarchy, because right now it is really an oligarchy. Even if we don't have control. The average American do not have control of their government. It is the rich people who can buy the elected officials. How many minutes do I have?
10.
10 still. So, I just wanted to say that this is an opportunity. This year is an opportunity to do that. So the September 11 lawsuit law is a great progress in that. And I think in terms of foreign policy, this is an issue that should be placed or in the front, not in terms of foreign, because in terms of domestic, because any American president, any American administration with certain foreign policy that supports the despotic regimes anywhere, it's going to impact you. There is a concept I'm actually writing about, and I call it Carterism. What is Carterism? Carterism is after Jimmy Carter, because who is, he's promoting himself as a human rights president. Yet he took $35 million from the Saudi monarchy. He's never said anything about the Saudi human rights record. Nothing. I've tried over the years. Not only that, he calls the Saudi monarchists my friends. Oh, Prince so-and-so, he's my friend. King Abdullah is my friend, my good friend. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You can't say I'm a human rights guy and then you say this guy is my friend. The guy who abuses his daughters, the guy who enforces child marriage, the people who do not have any legal system, it's just the whims. It's an absolute monarchy by the book. You can't be both. So it is really important, I think, to stop this phenomena from increasing, where you have a foreign government, especially rich, despotic, backward monarchy with influence on elected presidents. Jimmy Carter, because of this policy, defending these Gulf monarchies, helped in creating terrorism. The Jimmy Carter cancer is Al-Qaeda. Remember Afghanistan? Who was helping? What was the CIA doing? What was Zbigniew Brzezinski was doing? He was supporting so-called mujahideen. These are the same people who blew New York City and the Pentagon. The same people who are beheading people, who were beheading Serbs, by the way, during the Bosnian War, who were beheading Pakistanis, Iranians, and Afghan citizens, and women, even children. And it was okay during that time. Right now, it's not okay because they're killing Americans. And that is really, reality is the United States should not be, the government of the United States should not be supporting these type of actions nowhere, anywhere around the world, because at the end, if you do wrong, it will, the karma actually happens sometimes. Maybe not every time, but this is the way karma works. And this is what happened. The United States planted that seed, Jimmy Carter especially, that seed. Jimmy Carter started what they this idea of supporting and protecting the Gulf monarchies from, fake, it's really fake Soviet danger. And the United States, according to a Princeton professor, spent now up to $8 trillion of your money, your taxpayer money, that should fix this pothole. And we don't have to pay for the whole tunnel every time we get in. $8 trillion in the 1970s, from the Carter time until now. And it continues. And what is it, 200 plus billion dollars a year the United States government spends in military spending protecting the Gulf monarchies. The largest, people talk about Israel, 2 billion. Try $220 billion a year protecting Gulf monarchies. From what? I don't know. From some, maybe that monster, the lake monster in Scotland. I don't know. So really, this is an opportunity this year to bring these issues, to embarrass the Clintons and others who are receiving money from the Saudis and other Gulf monarchies. It's really important to bring this country, to take this country back from politicians who are selling the American power, who are selling the American soldiers to the protection of Gulf monarchies. John Kerry actually said it when the Syrian crisis started. Oh, the UAE and Saudi Arabia will pay for it if we send our troops. He should have left his position when he said that. Who raised this issue? No one. It's embarrassing when you say, for an American official, to say that we will send our troops if these people pay for it. Does that sound like mercenary? This is like, I think it's treasonous to say such a thing about your own soldiers. I don't think I have much to say. Thank you for coming and for your support, and I thank Stanley and everyone. Thank you.